Welcome to Raising the Bar, a podcast giving no bullshit marketing advice for Aussie business owners. Expertise takes experience, and that's why we tell stories from lived experience to deliver marketing that raises the standard of what Aussie business owners should expect.
All right, now we're back with another episode of Raising the Bar, episode 10. Double digits! Yeah. So this is an exciting topic for you, your favourite topic to talk about. Is it? A bit of AI.
Yeah.
Everchanging. Today we're going to talk about how AI is impacting search or Google. And yeah, a lot of people are saying they feel like AI is replacing Google. So what are your thoughts on this?
And this is why it gets so exciting. And specifically AI in marketing, right? Because for so many years, and I think we'll cover it in another topic, it was your business is screwed, AI is coming. But actually what's happening is this major change in how everyone is consuming and choosing the products they buy. So the focus on Google and AI is, well, are we going to use Google anymore? Is Google finally out of the picture because we're moving to AI platforms? And we've been doing research now for about a year on all of our clients, so about 88 managed service clients a month, where we're rolling through looking at, well, where are they getting their hits from on the website, and where are they, getting mentioned and cited within AI platforms? And the answer is a lot of them, but most of them still Google products. Google is still absolutely running the race.
Yeah, okay. And so why do you think Google's still winning the race?
Well, the statistics are saying that Google's still winning the race. So across 80 plus clients that we are producing reports for, we're measuring the amount of times a company is cited or mentioned in an AI tool. So a large learning model, something like your ChatGPT or your Gemini or your Claudes. When we look at that data, we can actually see, well, what AI tool is actually mentioning them. And beyond all, the major winner is the AI overview. So, when you go to the Google search bar, you type in, hey, it's giving you a beautiful answer in that overview box. Yeah. So that's number one in pretty much every site that we report to. And number two, quite specifically since about November last year in Australia, has been AI mode, which is once you've got that AI overview, it actually turns into AI mode. And when you're typing in, you can continue to ask questions. So no longer are you getting those blue links with the meta title, but the blue link with a bit of text underneath, and you make the decision to click through. You're now getting an AI overview, and then it's going into AI mode. And it's, if you notice, even on your Google search bar, you'll get that AI overview, and then AI mode will pop up as one of the options up the top. So where it says maps and images and whatever, AI mode will pop up there. So those two are just leading the charge. And what's powering both of them? Well, Gemini. So ironically, Gemini's winning that AI race in terms of how much it's used.
I find it fascinating how the interface has changed, right? But it feels like it didn't feel like change. Like you go in and search, and it's you going onto AI, you're using AI to answer without even, I don't know. Do you feel the same way?
Oh, absolutely. But isn't that part of Google's greatest trick? It's like the greatest magician's trick ever. So what's the hardest thing to change? It's human behaviour. So as humans, we are still going to go to Google and Google it. But instead of Googling the traditional way we did, we're now interacting with Gemini every time through AI overview. Because what was the alternative? Well, the alternative is that we physically are going to ChatGPT, or we're going to Claude, or we're going to Gemini. And now that for us is like something that's, it's a bit of a detractor. It's a bit of a thing that you wouldn't do. But in reality, what we know now is, well, we're still going to go to Google. We're going to type in what we see. So the interface, for all intents and purposes, is exactly the same. It's just summarizing that data for us. So I guess the answer is Google's leading the race as human habits die hard.
Yeah, and you don't, I remember when it first came up, obviously you assume it might be Gemini, but you don't actually know. But so both of those systems, when you search on Google, are based on Gemini?
Of course, because it's the engine they've invested in to feed the results. And interestingly, the question then remains, I think you asked this question in a meeting with us, well, actually, is Google then preferencing the people who used to rank first? So is the investment that people made in SEO actually worthwhile now in the AI results? And the truth is, no one 100% knows, but yes, it looks like it is, because it's still turning to every Google product in the ecosystem. So I think it came through that, including YouTube, 20% of the overview data that is presented. So when you search in an overview, 20% of the time, it's actually only using Google's ecosystem of products. So that means it's pulling up results that it has. It's going to YouTube, it's going to Google Maps, it's going to Google products and not pulling from anywhere else. So that's a big statistic, that it's not actually pulling out and pulling information from those other sites necessarily and presenting it. And that's a big change. So the interface didn't change, but the way we're presented the data and how that data, I guess, is free for us to explore is very different. There's not as much human choice. You know, we would click on those links, we'd have a read, we'd go back, that was crap, go back, have another read. That's not the same. And even in that purchase decision of going through and having a look at something and knowing you've got other options, well, if you're being presented the options, and that's already 20% that they're pulling on their own ecosystem, it's a bit of a manipulation perhaps. So we've just got to be really conscious of it.
Yeah. Well, when we're all time poor and want things done, you know, summarised and efficiently kind of answered.
Yeah. I would say that comes down to the purchase intent and the complexity of what you're buying. So I think you were actually at my place the other day because you're big and strong as per usual, and I said, can you help me move the kids' basketball ring? And it was you, Tony and I, and we're like trying to move the basketball ring. And I was like, actually, have we got it to the right height? And Tony, who's not the most technological human in the world, pulls out, jumps on her phone and literally asks Siri, what height should an under 10s basketball ring be in Australia? And it was the AI overview within Google that gave her the answer. So super quick, super convenient, but ultimately probably using Gemini, is using Gemini underneath it.
So you kind of touched on SEO. Do you think AI and the changes that are happening, do you think SEO is kind of dead, or, you know, not as useful in some ways now?
There's two, there's a big shift happening where if you want to rank for that first blue link for a keyword, I think that'll become less and less relevant. And I think, you know, if you think about being, magnesium supplement powder Perth, or magnesium, you wouldn't need to say Perth, sorry, it's not local search. If you said magnesium supplement powders and they would come up, traditionally you're looking for a keyword. So if it's just someone looking for that, that's likely still going to be powerful in an SEO context, Google shopping, those elements. But what we do know now is the AI overview, what is the best thing to do, what is the best magnesium supplement to use, that's going to give you an overview, and you'd want to be mentioned or cited in those, which is different to SEO. Related, but again, it's this difference between long search queries that have intent, so a question, versus just a keyword search that we used to do a little bit more.
So what about, you know, when you say cited, obviously it's the text is coming out, answering the question, and then the citation is the little icon here showing what website it pulled from. Yeah?
Yep.
So do we, you know, what about, can we track how people click on that, and are people being pulled through to the website very often?
Well, the website pull through, and this is the fundamental change, is the issue. So we are seeing dramatic drop in website hits because the citation is used instead. Now, Google sort of changed this a little bit. You'll get your AI overview, and then in the right-hand side, you'll sort of see the sites that it referenced to build that AI overview. So that's something they have moved to doing, but I don't know about you, but I read the AI overview and I'm not noticing that as much.
I didn't notice it. So
I guess what I would say is actually fairly new.
I put a little citation.
Within Gemini or within ChatGPT, it's the little circle at the bottom.
Yeah, okay.
So that's
because I mean,
yeah. But we don't click on them, do we? So like that, it's just got the information I want.
Yeah.
Notice I just swore, but that's just who I am. So we'll just carry on. Really good question broadly there. Are people going to your website? What we have to fundamentally understand is that even though in SEO we often wrote topics that wouldn't, really make sense for you to win work. So we got a great example with a physiotherapist, right? A physiotherapist would write articles on how to do a stretch for muscle pain. And ultimately that probably wasn't going to drive someone to book in a physio appointment. It was content on their website for someone who wanted to do a stretch for physio pain. So they probably want to resolve it themselves. Mm-hmm. But what happened is people clicked on your website and there was some brand resonance. There would be a logo, there'd be the article, there'd be some affiliation. what was more important is that lots of traffic was coming to your website and lots of traffic was staying on your website and had sort of lag time, had read time, and that contributed to SEO. So your quality score improved. You had relevant content that people were reading. Whether or not they were ever going to be your client didn't matter because it pushed your rankings up when it did matter, right?
Mm, yeah.
But AI changes that because they give you the muscle, the neck exercise, and you're just a tiny little icon. No one's going to click through to see that. It'll say from this, and this, these are the best exercises to do. And you don't know what they are. So you're missing that brand alignment. You're not getting those web hits. And so that's fundamentally shifting the way SEO works. We did it because we wanted people on our site and it drove quality, and now people don't go to your site. From a Google perspective, they're staying in the Google environment, and in all the other AI platforms, they're staying in those platforms as well. So if you went to ChatGPT or to Claude and asked for a neck exercise, you're going to read it and then do it. You might want a video and you might ask for a video and it might pull a link through or direct you to one. Yeah. But really, you're moving to someone's website the way you traditionally did. So that's changing in a massive way. And that's something all small business owners need to be aware of, because SEO, it's relevant in brand and it's going to stay relevant in brand for a while, just because of the way humans buy, but it's going to fall away depending on how complex the decision is do we want to buy for. So if I'm buying a boat, I do a lot of research. I build a custom GPT to choose the boat that I wanted to buy. What would it be? These are the surf conditions I'm going to have. I want to have my 2 boys on the boat. I want to have this. It was an intense purchase, right? So a different, but looking for an address for something, I'm still going to go to Google.
So, yeah, I mean, because we do a lot of work, obviously, in the customer journey, do customer journey mapping, understanding. So I guess the big change to that?
I think the best way to describe the change is to understand, here's a good example of how it can work. I have a very good bestie called Janky. Hi, Janks, how you doing? And she is just looking to bolster her health in terms of what she's doing. So she wrote went to Claude, phenomenal tool, probably leading in a lot of fronts in terms of what it gives you back. Mm-hmm. And she produced essentially a longevity plan for her. So she went through and said, this is who I am, this is my weight, this is what I'm trying to achieve. Knew lots of those things, put lots of the data in, and she said, oh, Mel, it just produced me this most incredible longevity plan. And I went through that for what I needed. And there was just one product that I couldn't find, and that's actually where I pulled the magnesium example from. And it was this magnesium with this particular type of sulfate. I'm probably misquoting you there, Jenks, but in it, and I just couldn't find a brand. And I said, oh, okay, so what'd you do? She's like, oh, I asked it to recommend me the top 3 brands. Like, what are the brand names? I can't find any that have these key active ingredients. And I said, oh, cool. Once it gave you those, Claude gave you those, and why? Like, it gave her good reasoning. What'd you do? She said, oh, I went to Google and Googled them. I said, what'd you do? She said, oh, I bought the one I wanted. I was like, okay. So what do we need to think of? Historically, awareness, I know I need something, I want a longevity plan. Interest, I'm going to go and have a look out there. I found 2 or 3 products. I'm going to read the review pages, got to maybe look at their Google reviews and do some comparison. Consideration is, oh, these are the 2 that I want. Is it on price? Or will that one ship for me today? Is that the best one that I can get hold of? And then you make a purchase decision. All of those things were generally in a Google environment, in a search engine environment. And we could see if they hit your page. If they did hit your page and buy, we knew it was a conversion. But that whole research phase in Janky's example, and that whole consideration phase, so interest and consideration, was done in Claude. And then they went to Google and she made the purchase. So we don't know what the hell happened. It just looked like Google. Google would be attributed for getting that lead. But actually, had nothing to do with Google. She just went there to purchase because that was the consumer behaviour. The decision was made in Claude.
Yeah, so it's kind of reducing the clarity of where you're producing the demand for your product, right?
Sucks for marketers. Really did. We've just got to the stage where we can pretty much go, cool, we know exactly where the attribution for everything you do. Cool, that came from a Google My Business click. This was an SEO lead. This came from direct. This was pay per click. This was social. Gee, we know through this QR code that we put on this brochure at this caravan and camping show that they came to your website after doing that. Bugger. Lots of those things still exist, but all this research done in AI now, really all we know is that citation and that mention piece, and that is minimal and often not what we really need. So what we want to think about is going, okay, this messy middle has just got way messier. Actually, there's one point I have to make on Claude, if I may.
Certainly. I'd like you to get go off point about something.
Claude isn't actually releasing any of its data. So where we can see citations and mentions for tools like ChatGPT, AI Mode, and AI Overview, we can see them in the tools that we're reporting. We can't see those. They can't see those results for Claude, and Claude isn't releasing those to these tools. And Claude's reasoning for that is we're not going to sell anyone's data. It's a private conversation between you and me. Like, that's it. The Claude and the tool. So I guess we've got to look at two monetization models here and where the world of AI is going. Claude and Perplexity are backing in that people are going to be willing to pay for the tool for the anonymity and to be able to have a private conversation that doesn't get sold to anybody. And they have said, we will not allow advertising in Claude. It's not going to happen. We already know ChatGPT is testing advertising. Google's close to it. And we know they're probably selling, I don't know that for sure, but selling the data away to Ahrefs, who is the tool that we use to get this data on the mentions and the citations. So there's two business models. And I guess the question becomes, if you want a private conversation, a conversation of trust, are you willing to pay whatever a month to have the access to Claude, in, as long as you don't get advertised to and you know that the data has great integrity, because that's what their argument is, versus I get to use the free tool in ChatGPT or Google, but I know that if a tool is free, then I am the product. We know that from social media, right? Social media platforms are free. How do they make their money? They advertise to us. They share our data. They know everything about us. So we've got two competing models working in now. And if Claude becomes the dominant model, I'm just going to pack up and go home. No. What needs to happen is you need to be in those search results, right? You need to be one of the top 3 recommended in the way that we're changing how we search for things.
So what do you think business owners need to be thinking about then?
Very early on, we recorded a podcast on whether to freak out about AI, and I still don't think to freak out about it. But the reality is still having that absolute core focus on a niche and what you're really good at. So those broad-based key terms are going to be very hard to show up for and be cited for and mentioned within AI platforms. Something like Claude isn't going to be manipulated around results. It's going to look at genuine data, your genuine Google reviews. So for all those clients that are, Google reviews, I hate it, they're going to matter. But review pages in general. And then what the outside world says about us. So product reviews that are on independent websites and coming through. And really focusing in on the unique thing you do rather than a key term, how people actually search and what they look for. So what we've been working with our clients a lot to do is to go, when people phone you to inquire about your service or your product, or if they make an online inquiry, what do they actually ask? And what we're able to distill from that is, well, if they're asking you that when they phone you, when they start to move these conversations, and they are moving these conversations into AI tools, they're going to ask probably exactly the same questions. How much would it generally be to engage a company like this? What types of things do I need to prepare for our first meeting? Does this product have any contraindications with any of these medications I'm on? Those things are moving into the AI portal. So get those questions and answers, I guess, and write the articles about them in a long-form content, long-form structure, and get them out there into the world. That's what I would be doing.
Yeah. I think also there's, even though maybe we're not capturing, as much of the customer journey, you can always ask them how they found you, right? And that's when they actually come through the door.
And that's actually been amazing. Because of Claude, I sat with a good old friend of ours in the divorce and family law space. And I said, I know you've got Claude conversions. I know because you said it. I can't measure them. You're obviously asking. And she's like, yeah, they do all this work. They get our name. They do all this work within the AI tool. They get the name appear and then they Google the brand name. So I find that a really interesting piece as well. So making sure that the brand name, you appear for your brand name. It should work in most instances if your SEO has been good. You don't, those 2 rules that we have, like if you've got a really common name. I think we're going to see a client, I think it's water treatment solutions. So, and I'm like, oh, that's a difficult name because it is actually the service. That makes it a bit difficult. But a unique name is easier, right? You pop up for that. So I would put to you that people will find the brand. They will find your name of your business through search. You want to appear in those top 3 recommendations for what that person wants. How do we do that? We make sure that we understand what they're going to be looking for in long form searches, and that we have answered those questions and we shot them. There's a few little tricky tactics we're looking at. We don't actually know if they work yet, but for all our clients, we're rolling out a thing called an LLMS.txt file, which she was just so delighted to learn about this week. Could be bullshit. But we just said, hey, not going to cost them anything. We've thrown in to get them all done in the next month and get them all on sites, and we'll give that a crack. And that should feed this information. This is who we serve. This is who we don't serve. And that's said to feed the AI machine better. But, you know, we're probably starting back at let's say, or I gambled the wrong way, but that's okay. I'm crap at blackjack. So yeah, we're going to have to navigate through the black hat techniques, and we're going to have to navigate through what really works. But fundamentally, be good at what you do. Make sure people talk about it and advocate for your brand afterwards, and make sure that you understand your niche and who you really want to work with, that ideal client, and answer their questions in a digital way.
Yeah. So what's the big takeaway here for business owners?
The big takeaway is that Google and traditional search is not dying, but AI is replacing the journey to get to Google. So Google search is going to exist, but you're not going to see anything in between. It's just going to be someone searching for your name afterwards. And you have to exist in that messy middle. When someone goes, I want something, these are the questions I'm going to ask. That's going to be done in an AI environment, and then it will probably transfer to Google, at least for the foreseeable future, until a point where the Google, I guess, human behaviour works its way out of generations. But, you know, it takes a long time for those things to generationally move.
Perfect.
We'll see how it goes.
Good luck us.
We're doomed.